House in Baltimore and now almost 3 decades into this crazy journey of sports radio and 23 years now into the Ravens journey is meeting some really cool people. This guy here has been covering football since the era of John Stedman, back when the Houston Oilers were running around down there at the Houston Chronicle, now 38 years into it down there, and always fun to join us and fun to talk football with someone that's so ingrained with football. We welcome John McClain back on. You can follow him at the HoustonChronicle.com or at McClain_on_NFL. And he has been in the hills of West Virginia the last couple of weeks. John, there's a lot of ways to do this training camp thing. It must have been an interesting little diversion for you, right?
It was the best place I've ever been for training camp, and I've been a lot of places. They went to the Greenbrier in southeast West Virginia, where a $30 million facility was built for the Saints. They were there for 3 years. Tom Benson didn't want to go back. Texans jumped on it. Now, maybe, Nestor, cool weather in August is not a big deal to you, but it is to me. And I stayed at a Fairfield Inn and Suites, the media hotel, in a charming little town called Lewisburg, West Virginia, an artsy community, great restaurants, fun people. I was 11 minutes from the Texans practice facility with traffic. It took me 13 minutes. The weather was in the 50s at night. One night it was 48. And usually when we got up to go to practice, it was in the low 60s. And at practice itself, it was either in the high 60s or the low 70s. And today we came back in the 90s. First day the Texans have been back at their facility, and I'll guarantee you there's a lot of them wish they were still in West Virginia.
John, educate me on this. We're going to talk Texans and, everything around this, but there's a whole history of these camps, and there was always the Cheese League up in Wisconsin, and, Minnesota, Kansas City, and New Orleans would go up there. But this West Virginia thing, this is a fascinating little allure, right? And I think for the Ravens, they did the Westminster thing, and it really kind of messed with their mojo, and the fans were upset about it, and now they're expanding their own facility. But there are a lot of different ways to do this thing, but the West Virginia story is kind of fascinating. There's a big money trail associated with it as well, right?
Well, oh yeah, the Greenbrier's been in business since the late 1700s, and it's 10,000 acres, 4 golf courses, 6 full-time restaurants, 2 regional restaurants. There's entire wings that they can stay in, and everything. Nestor, if you and Jen came and you wanted a 7-bedroom suite, you could get it. I know you're used to staying in the fine places like that. If you had to slum it, you could do a 4-bedroom, or if you wanted to slum it a little more, you could do a 2-bedroom cottage, or you could just stay in the hotel.
McClain, you got me all wrong. I would have been down there in the Hampton Suites. I'd have been in your closet is where I would have been.
I've seen how you roll, and the people couldn't have been nicer. There are 3 fields, 2 with grass, 1 with AstroTurf. There were grandstands for fans. I spent all my time in the stands up on the top row in the end zone with my binoculars charting everything, because we're not able to see that way here. When the Patriots were there for joint practices last week, it dawned on me I was 3 weeks into my first camp when Brady was born. Brady was born on August 3rd, 1977. I had been to the Oilers training camp in Nacogdoches, Texas, in East Texas, where it was so hot. 36 players spent at least one night in the hospital getting IVs. They left after 1 year, bounced all over the state of Texas looking for just a little cool air. Teams used to always go on the road, and then when they started building nice facilities, somebody figured out, well, we can just have camp here and save a lot of money. Jerry Jones, I think, is the only one that actually makes money. So everybody decided with these great facilities, you got your own locker room, you got your own cafeteria, because all of them can get 3 meals now. They've got places, I know here in NRG Stadium, when they had camp here up till this year, they would have rooms where they could take little nappies if they were tired in the afternoon. But the idea of going on the road now, and probably half the league doesn't do it, they wanted cooler weather because they had longer practices, they were more up-tempo, they had more reps, they got more accomplished, And I'll say this, players were a lot easier to interview when it was 70 degrees than when it's 95. And they thought because there was a lot of bonding, players would do fly fishing, regular fishing, whitewater rafting, skeet shooting, golf, tennis, ATVs in the woods, a lot of things they did together. Now, will it help them be better than 9-7 that they've been the last 3 years? I think most of that will depend on the quarterback position and not moving training camp.
Why was the training camp a good idea for them? Give me the philosophy behind the whole thing. And, did fans fly up? I mean, it's certainly not an easy place to access, right? I mean, I don't even know, where the hell you would fly into to get there. I mean, I'm looking at it. I mean, there aren't a lot of flights in the Roanoke, Virginia, and, hell, it's got to be 4 hours from Washington, right? I mean, it's got to be.
Well, I flew into Charleston, the capital. It's an hour and 45-minute drive. Some people, for some reason, flew to Charlotte and drove 4 hours. You could fly to Roanoke from Houston, but you got to change planes, and it's not a straight shot. You got to go around the mountains. So the easiest, you fly to Charlotte, take a puddle hopper, but that puddle hopper, I'm told, canceled flight about every other one, so you couldn't count on it. So flying to Charleston like we did and driving an hour and 45 minutes was by far the easiest. Some fans went, but I think after all the positive publicity the media put out about it, there will be a lot more next year. I know a lot of my friends who were mad that the Texans went on the road have told me they're going to make plans to come up there next year, and I told them they should. There's plenty of room for fans there. It's not like at their facility. They can put 4,500 to 5,000 in their facility, but a lot of them have to stand. We're up there. When the Patriots came, they had seats for about 2,500 in the stands. That a lot of people sat on these hills around it because they had hills around the facility and mountains everywhere else. But it was a spectacular place, and I'd go again in a heartbeat.
Well, obviously great training camp, right? But tell me about the football team there. And, a lot of questions, right? I mean, Watt coming back and the defense and, what's going to happen with an offense that's, a whole different thing based on the way they drafted. What's this team going to look like in 2 weeks, John?
First of all, Tom Savage solidified his hold on the starting quarterback job in a 27-23 win over New England Saturday that was very exciting for a preseason game. In Savage's last 3 drives, he's 16 of 17 for 195 yards, touchdown, no turnovers in those 3 drives. All but one was, 4 drives, and 3 of them were touchdowns. The other one was a bad call by Bill O'Brien that they were down at the 6 of the Patriots. And so quarterback is still a big issue. They're loaded with good running backs. They got decent receivers, but 6 of them are out. Their 2 starting receivers are out. Will Fuller, broken collarbone, had surgery early in camp. Could be back 1st October, could be 1st of November. DeAndre Hopkins has been out with a hand injury since the first preseason game, but he'll be ready to go against Jacksonville. Their 3rd receiver, Braxton Miller, is out with a sprained ankle, so they got a bunch of backups at wide receiver, and I'm writing that tomorrow about how that affects quarterbacks and timing and on-field rapport. Their tight ends are good. Their offensive line very shaky. Dwayne Brown, left tackle, their best offensive lineman, has not been to camp, was not at the off-season program, has 2 years left on his contract, and swears he's not, well, we don't know. He hadn't said anything, but I'm assuming he'll be in when the big checks start for the first game. He makes $9.5 million, 32 years old. Guys that age don't walk away from $9.5 million. And defensively, their front 7 is real good. J.J. Watt's all the way back. He's played in the first 2 games, got extensive action against the Patriots and 2 joint practices. Their questions are their secondary, specifically safety.
Well, the Ravens had the same problems, the safety position, and went out into the marketplace and brought in veteran guys after drafting, younger guys that things didn't work out for. Some thoughts about these young guys. I mean, I don't know much about K.J. Dillon or Andre Hall.
Well, Andre Hall, who's in his 4th year, is a starter with a 3rd-year guy named Corey Moore. And Andre was a 7th-round pick. Corey Moore was undrafted, so they have not put a lot into safety. They have K.J. Dillon, 5th-round pick last year, blew out his knee. Eddie Pleasant, a fifth-year veteran who's been a good special teams player. Marcus Gilchrist, who was a second-round pick of the Chargers, played 4 years, signed as a free agent with the Jets, played well till he blew out his patellar tendon in December. Had surgery, came back here after watching for a week. He's worked his way to the second team. So they got a lot of bodies, but none of them that really stand out. So that means there's there's some spots open that'll be determined in these last 2 games.
Boy, the schedule's not kind to them. I mean, Jacksonville maybe to start things off at home, but at Cincinnati, at New England, Tennessee, I mean, you're going to find out in the first month what they're made. I mean, it's going to be a sink or swim type of thing for them. They're going to be a major underdog in a couple of those games, right?
They go to Cincinnati for a Thursday night game, then they go to New England, where they always get beat. O'Brien's 0-3 against the Patriots, his former team, 0-2 regular season, 0-1 in playoffs last year, and they just practiced against each other twice. They played the game against each other, kept it very vanilla, and so they know each other inside out. No surprises. Texans, half their staff played or coached for Belichick, and that familiarity so far, it doesn't breed contempt. But the Titans, I picked the Titans to win the division. A lot of people have. They'll find out early how they stand when they play Tennessee.
Well, I tell you what, man, Tennessee, everybody I've talked to around the league, they are the team, along with Tampa Bay, I think, in the other conference, but everyone seems to like Tennessee, and it really feels like the Colts have fallen just out of this thing, and it feels like Jacksonville, much like Cleveland's never going to pick it up.
Tell you something about the Colts. It's amazing the way everybody was down on Ryan Gregson and the battles with Chuck Pagano, and they still never finished less than 8-8. So after going to the 12-4 and 11-5, I believe, to the championship game and the divisional game in Gregson's first 2 years to 8-8 records that he's fired. So they have not been terrible. Now without Andrew Luck and having Scott Tolzien as the quarterback, they got a chance to be terrible. And Luck, after having that shoulder surgery, you don't just come out going 0-60 on your first time out. He's got to have time to warm up and throw. So it's looking to me, Nestor, like there's a chance Andrew Luck's not going to be the starter when the season begins. And if that happens and they got Tolzien, I'm not saying they're going to be as bad as the Jaguars because they got problems on offense too. And if they go with Chad Henne, then that means next year they're going to be in the market for one of those quarterbacks. So it looks like a two-team race between the Texans, who won it 2 in a row and 4 of the last 6, and the Titans.
Well, I mean, in the case of Savage, they don't even want the kid on the field this year, right? I mean, they don't want to see him on the field at all, even though they used the first-round draft pick on Deshaun Watson.
Well, that was the philosophy when they drafted him and they went to the off-season program. And then Deshaun Watson did so well, he passed up Brandon Whedon from 3-2. And then last week, I was telling people that if Savage faltered and Watson continued to practice and play the way he had, I thought there was a chance he'd start the regular season against Jacksonville. And then he took a step back, throwing the football against the Patriots, and Savage looked great on his 2 series. And so Savage solidified it unless something happens, and he was just awful against the Saints, and Watson was great, but I haven't seen any indication that either of those is going to happen. So Watson's the backup. Savage has been hurt in each of his first 3 seasons, even though he's hardly played. Plus, Bill O'Brien has benched his starter in each of the first 3 seasons. So the odds are at some point Savage is going to be out, either by his own doing or O'Brien's doing, and Watson will be playing. Once he gets his foot in the door, there's a lot of people, Nestor, think it's not coming out.
Hey, my buddy David Questenberry going to make this team, John?
He's the second-team left guard. Seeing him on the field is pretty miraculous, but there's a lot of competition for the 2 spots. If he doesn't make it, David has never taken it down in regular season, even though this is his 5th year, counting his rookie year on IR and the last 3 battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he has practice squad eligibility, and I'm assuming that he would be signed to the practice squad.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you see him around there, you tell him my wife and I said hello. And I've been watching him.
Day.
He's a special guy, man. And he swabbed with us out in San Diego on the baseball tour 2 years ago.
I remember that.
He and his family came out, so I'm glad he's still here. My wife's still here. We're all still here, and and I know all of this football chatter and fake football and who's going to play. I know really where your soul is. Your soul is in one of those Starburst, J.R. Richard throwback Astros duds. You're going to have some October baseball. John, I know you're going to have to finagle your schedule a little bit around here in October for your Astros, right?
I told people the good thing about coming back from West Virginia is I could watch the Astros again. And my wife said she sure was nice while I was gone for almost a month that I didn't plop down at night and watch the game and work in front of the TV. And so that's the first thing I did when I came back, watch the Astros, then Game of Thrones. And so I told everybody here was upset that Jeff Luhnow did not make a deal for prospects for a veteran pitcher. They signed two pitchers, Tyler Clippard and Nelson Liriano, and they've done okay. But the good news for the Astros, Dallas Keuchel's pitched 2 games in a row after being on DL for over a month. And Colin McHugh, who missed the first half of the year, pitched 6 shutout innings the day before yesterday. And Lance McCullers is ready to come back off the DL. So maybe, just maybe, they didn't need to make a deal. There's a lot of talk about Justin Verlander doing a deal here, but I don't know if they want to pay all the money he's got left. But he's been pitching pretty well since the All-Star break, and that's 2 for 1, getting him and his wife.
Do you ever cover the Astros or never? You only
never
are a fan with a beer and a hot dog and like that?
I only cover the NFL, but because I'm on the radio here 6 times a week, and I love talking about the Astros and the Rockets and college football. I keep up with everything. But I've been an Astros fan since the first game in 1962. I was 10 years old in Waco, Texas, listening to that first game. And everybody here, if they listen to me on the radio or Twitter, they know I'm a big Astros fan. And because I don't write about them, I can be a fan, and I'll rip them just like I rip the Texans. But this year has been a really, really fun season because of all the hitting. They're fun to watch because they're never out of a game. They just get that pitching going. It's going to be hard without top pitching if you're playing the Red Sox or the Indians.
I am going to be an Astros fan. I've always wanted to own one of the Starburst shirts. I do not own one. The night I was there with Pastorini, I went into the gift shop. I saw it. I don't know. It's just I had a lot of laundry and a lot of stuff to take with me. I wasn't in acquisition mode on the tour because I had to carry everything I acquired, including kits and swabs and all that stuff. So I never bought the shirt, but I'm going to represent. I mean, when it's all said and done, I'm going to be an Astros fan because of how good they were to me, but also just like how much fun it is for my cousin and for you, and that's the place where they've never won. I want to see them win,
They won one World Series in 2005, got beat 4-0 by the White Sox, and they're a class organization, class team. Everybody loves the president, Reed Ryan, his dad, Nolan, and his mom, Ruth. They're around all the time, sitting in the Diamond Club seats. If you go in the restaurant, Nolan's in there shaking hands, signing autographs, posing for pictures. They have Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio on the payroll. Roger Clemens is on the payroll. Close by, coaching at a private high school, or Lance Berkman and Andy Pettit. They're around all the time. So they're very, very big on having a relationship with their ex-players, and that's one reason they're so popular. When Bagwell went to the Hall of Fame earlier this month, or end of July, I can't even remember, there were more Astros fans there than anybody else. So they wanted to represent, and they did the same thing with Craig Biggio when he went in 3 years ago. So it's even though there's a lot of great tradition, like there are some organizations like the Orioles who won World Series, people really like this team.
John, the night I was down there that you set Pastorini up to help us swab, my cousin came out. I went into the little club thing there with Pastorini, and J.R. Richards standing there. And, you talk about, 1977 and the glory of the Astrodome. To your point, I just randomly bumped into J.R. Richards in an Astros game, right?
That can happen anywhere, anytime here. Enos Cabell, one that I don't see, I wish I did because he doesn't live here, would be Joe Morgan. Joe was so popular back in the 60s and 70s before they made one of the worst trades in history. Sent him to Cincinnati, but for him it was great because he won 2 World Series with the Big Red Machine and was an MVP. But there are quite a few players you could bump into anytime. They go out of their way to make them feel welcome.
Always a pleasure, John. Take care of yourself. Hope to see you further on up the road. And, how the Texans going to be? Are they going to win 10 games this year or no?
Well, it depends on the quarterback. I can't predict it. I picked 9 and 7 just because they've done it the last 3 years.
All right, well,
Thanks
fair enough.
Thanks a lot, Nestor.
See you, John. There he goes, John McClain on NFL for the Houston Chronicle, now 38 years into it. You can follow him at HoustonChronicle.com and McClain_on_NFL. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning digitally. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. Breaking news happens first on our WNST tech service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, Dennis Kolatzis will be here this Thursday and every Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV. That's the Sunday Sports Voice. Don't let it fool you, though. It's now heard on Thursdays from 3 until 5. They are the SSV on WNST on Twitter as well. I will be in Wembley the whole week. We're going to be having a good time over there, but on Saturday afternoon, we are hosting a little Ravens pep rally at the Fox at XL. It's a bar and pub. It's a pub with fish and chips and ice-cold pints. We're 2 blocks away from the Emirates Air purple cable car. We're going to do a little purple sky march across the Thames to the O2 Arena. We're going to rip it up on Saturday. If you need some details on that, hit the website or throw me an email. And much like Mr. Angelos, I am a very available individual. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.